this rainy morning, Bob Stackhouse, our board president, just told me, I guess I'm not that big a draw. We're actually hoping for more people. I've heard that typically this presentation, we only get about 40 or 50 people. We're hoping that we'd have more, given some of the changes we've made and what have you. But obviously, y'all are the people that are very interested and engaged, so we certainly appreciate y'all attending this morning. And hopefully you can take it back to your friends and neighbors and let them know what's going on. I'm Bob Weber. I'm your new general manager. I've been here about 5 months. And as you will see in our presentation, we've kind of changed the format of the presentation from prior years. I'm going to be the only one doing the presentation. But then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. And at that point in time, we can have any of our senior management team answer questions. So you can direct it to anybody. Board members are also here, so they can answer questions as well. Summary of the presentation, we're going to talk about the budget process and really the guiding principles, first of all. Then we're going to talk about the wastewater treatment plant and the sewer capital funds. Then the golf fund. This is something that's new. We're really trying to separate golf from everything else and really make it more like the other funds that we've had in the past. The operations fund, your capital fund, and then the debt service. So you can see where we are with respect to our debt service right now. And then our cash position. That's really the key at the end of the day. What is our cash position at the end of 2012? And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Now, if you'll notice some of the keywords there, you see fund in many cases. We're really changing our accounting approach to a fund accounting approach. Again, more than anything for transparency. So it'll be a lot easier for y'all to understand the monthly financial reports and a lot easier for you to understand the budget and really see the cash flow for each of these individual funds, whether it be golf or wastewater treatment plant. Budget process, first of all, get a lot of input from the board and committees. And with that, first thing I'd like to do is introduce the board members that are here. Bob Stackhouse is our board president. Bob Diller, our board vice president. Pete Cahill, our board treasurer. John Muldoon, board member. Misty Keys is the developer board member. She couldn't make it today. She had a lot going on. Diana Chalfont is the timeshare representative, and she's out of town today, so she could not make it. And then Glenn Harper is the other resident board member. He had a medical procedure yesterday, and doctor's orders for him to stay inside out of the light. So he sends his regrets that he did not make it today. Next thing we do is board input and committees input. I know I have seen some committee members here today, so if you're on any of the board committees, if you could please stand up and be recognized. Please give them an applause. These are your fellow neighbors and residents that spend countless hours helping us as a management team, give us advice and counsel, and really do a lot of the legwork behind the scenes. So really appreciate all their efforts. Then we have management input. I'm going to introduce our management team. I'll start over on the far left. Judy Coline, Director of Human Resources. Regina Welch, our Controller. Steve Kraft, our Director of Golf. Tim Martin, our Director of Community Services. Charlie Siebert, our Public Safety Chief. And Tommy Lee, our Director of Operations. So this is the group that takes the input from the board, takes the input from the committees, and then really starts to put it all together based on what their experiences have been the past year, input that they get from you as individual residents as well. And so we put that all together, then submit a draft to the board. The board gives us their review and comments. Typically, we'll come back with a second draft. And we did that this year as well, made some adjustments. And now we're at the point where we're making a presentation to the members. So this is the day where we kind of roll it out. Then we're really looking for your input. So as we go through the Q&A session, please give us your input today. Likewise, if you think of things, we're going to hand out some schedules at the end of the day that have more detail. As you think of things, feel free to give me a call, give one of the senior management team or the board members a call with any questions you may have. We want to make sure that all the questions are answered. Obviously, we're going to have a board meeting on December 15th where the board will vote. So that's kind of your last chance to provide input to the board before they vote on the budget. Just a minute. I'm going to record this session. We also have a videotape as well. Our game plan is to, this afternoon, put this presentation, the slides, on the website, as well as some budget schedules. Additionally, we're actually going to have a video presentation on the website, so there'll be a link so you can look at that at your leisure. Again, tell your friends and neighbors about it. So hopefully, everything you're hearing today, people can access through the website. Additionally, any schedules that we hand out today can also be picked up at the administration office on D-Line Road. Okay. Consultant that we had here recently reminded us that we need to manage the budget to the mission and not the mission to the budget. What is our mission? In 2009, there was a strategic plan, and the mission of Fairfield Glade states, Fairfield Glade Communities Club mission is to provide a quality resort and retirement community maintaining reasonable member assessment fees. I have underlined the two words quality and reasonable. That mission statement is really our overriding guiding principle for this budget for 2012. Bill, I asked you to move over just a little bit. I'm not sure if this is blocking that signal or what. There, well, let's go a little bit too fast. Always have a little technical. Now again, thinking about that mission statement, here's some comments that we've had from some visitors and consultants that have come here. First comment from a consultant, appears to be a lot of deferred maintenance here. That goes to quality. Second one, you have some dated and tired facilities. Again, quality. Last one, this came from a golf group. They actually called the golf packager, and then called Steve Kraft for this comment. Here's they may have some financial issues given the condition of some of the buildings. So these are some things that we, from a marketing standpoint, these are negatives that we definitely have to take care of and avoid. So what are our guiding principles for this year? First of all, it's got to be realistic and achievable. And we're going to focus on cash flow this year as opposed to accounting income. The infrastructure and amenities, first thing we want to do is focus on safety issues. Second thing, we have to focus on regulatory issues. That relates to the wastewater treatment plant disposal system. Third, we have to focus on facility operating efficiencies. And then lastly, we do have to consider appearances. If you notice, all those comments really went to appearances. That's the first thing people see. That's their first impression of the community. And we need to make sure that those are positive impressions. Human resources. Our employees are really our most important asset. Therefore, we've got to pay them a fair wage to attract and maintain quality staff. Again, that word quality, you're going to hear me using that over and over again. So for that reason, we plan a 3% increase in our full-time payroll. Individuals, the increases will all be based on merit. But in total, the budget, we've increased payroll for full-time employees by 3%. We're currently in the process of doing some strategic planning. The survey is finalized now in terms of the data collection. Our consultants are now reviewing that and analyzing it. We anticipate having a meeting of membership sometime in mid to late January to talk about the results of that survey. But the key focus on strategic planning is, what is our market niche? What should we really be focusing on as we market to the outside? So for that reason, in our marketing efforts, both with Wyndham and local organizations, we've partnered with the Chamber of Commerce here, we've partnered with the City of Crossville to really make sure that we can attract guests and future members with that market niche, whatever we finalize as our market niche. Last thing we want to do, I really view 2012 as a major planning year. Strategic planning first is really going to drive everything. And then lastly, we need to do some master planning for the community as a whole. But then also, as we look at our infrastructure, we know we've got an aging infrastructure. We know we've got some aging amenities. We need to focus on those as well, all with the idea of improving the quality of our community per our mission statement. So master planning is going to be key in 2012. Let's first of all talk about the wastewater treatment plant and sewer funds. First and foremost, there will be no increase in sewer fees. They will remain at $33 per month for any lot or home that has sewer. Housing starts. Housing starts are critical for our sewer operation, but also for our operation in general. In 2012, we're projecting 50 new homes. Now, that compares to an estimated 47 for 2011. So we're really trying to keep things relatively flat in total. Now, you can see we had a high in 2006 of 226 homes. Since then, things have gone downhill. Again, these are very important because each new home represents $3,800 for sewer reserves. So that goes right to our reserves for sewer for future improvements and for things like the wastewater treatment disposal system. Here are the numbers for our wastewater treatment and sewer capital funds. Again, there'll be no increase in sewer fees. So we're going from $2.5 million in 2011 to about $2.4 million in 2012. So we're actually going to decrease, and I'll show you the reasons for that on the next slide. Expenses are actually going up a couple $100,000. Again, I'll show you the detail on that. And so our net cash flow in 2011, we're projecting about $1 million in cash flow from operations. In 2012, that's going down to about $700,000. So we've got a $300,000 drop. Now, at the beginning of 2012, we anticipate having about $1.3 million in our sewer funds. We anticipate spending about $811,000 on capital expenditures, major projects, excluding the wastewater treatment disposal system. That's going to be a separate item that we anticipate doing sometime in the third quarter of 2012. And when we do that, most likely we will borrow money, and we have enough cash to take care of that debt service in 2012, maybe some increases in 2013 to handle that. The committee working on that is still evaluating all the options, so that's why we anticipate it'll be probably the third quarter before we actually finalize the decision to get that going. We also have principal payments on notes, about $379,000. So then at the end of 2012, we anticipate having about $800,000 in our sewer funds for, again, future capital improvements. There are some of the reasons for the revenue decreases. First of all, we do anticipate some increase in homes being serviced and the Good Samaritan commercial fees to the tune of about $74,000. However, this year we had a lot of insurance claims, and that won't be recurring next year. And so that's about $107,000 that we will not have next year. Likewise, Good Samaritan paid their capacity fees in 2011. That again will not reoccur in 2012, so that's another $105,000 that we will not see in revenue in 2012. So that's the primary reason for the decline in revenues for next year. Expenses. Again, I mentioned the 3% increase for full-time payroll. Again, focus is going to be on merit increases. So not everybody will get a 3% increase. There will be, we've got some open positions here in 2011 that we anticipate filling, so that we can especially tackle the inflow and infiltration issue that we have. Anticipate some additional sewer taps for new homes that will cost money. Fuel costs are still high, and of course we'll have some increased repair and maintenance on our aging grinder pumps. Many of these are, I think, over 15 years old. Utilities, of course, we have the aeration at the treatment plant ponds as well as the lift stations. So that's about $9,000. And then interest, again, we're making the assumption that we will borrow money in the third quarter for the disposal system expansion. So we've added about $80,000 in interest to cover that. Capital expenditures for the sewer fund. We anticipate doing some upgrades to the St. George and Rebel Run pumping stations to the tune of about $400,000. Now, one important factor there is by doing this, we believe that we can postpone the secondary force main. And that number, the last number I've seen on that was about $780,000. So Tim Martin with his team and our engineers have concluded that if we make these improvements to the pump stations, we can defer the secondary force main for many years. So that's something we're going to do this year, 2012. Inflow and infiltration, $300,000. This is about the same amount that we're spending in 2011. Again, this is an area that we had the recent rains. The amount of flow through the plant increased from the average by threefold. So clearly we've got some issues out there with inflow and infiltration. It's basically rainwater, storm water, getting into the system, and that just increases the flow down to the plant. That is not a good thing, and that just cost us money in the short run and in the long run. So that's something that we're going to continue to tackle each year until we get it better under control. We'll do some sewer expansions, about $30,000. Master sewer planning engineering. This is really some long-term planning. We've asked the engineers to take a fresh look at our entire system, really looking long-term, so that as we add homes, what are the things that we're going to need planned for and put in place to make sure that we have adequate sewer system. So we're going to spend about $20,000 for them to do this master planning for the sewer system. And then we'll be replacing some vehicles. A lot of our vehicles that we're replacing are 15, 18 years old. And of course, as always, every year there's equipment to be replaced. So that's about $61,000. So that's the makeup of the $811,000. Again, that excludes the wastewater treatment plant disposal system. That will be determined later on, and any money needed for that will be borrowed. Okay, now let's go to the golf fund. I want to talk about the golfers serviced and some benchmarking against Tennessee and the nation, paid rounds comparison. We'll talk about the golf fund budget and some various explanations similar to what we did with the sewer plant. And then some golf expenses benchmarking. I'm a big person for benchmarking. I try and get a lot of information from the various industry standards to see how we're doing against those industry standards. And then we'll talk about the golf fund capital. Golfer service. You can see this far left, that's Tennessee, a little over 20,000. That's nationwide, a little less than 25,000. This is per 18 holes. See Druid Hills, we're at about 35,000 a year. Stonehenge, a little less than 35,000. And then Dorchester and Bray and Crag in that 40,000 range. So we compare very favorably to the nation on average as well as Tennessee. Number of paid rounds. You can see we had a high in 2008 of over 165,000, about 168,000. 2009, went down to a little over 150,000. Now, if you recall, stock market really crashed in the summer of 2008. So golf rounds nationally really declined in 2009 as opposed to that. People really pulling back because of the economy. 2010, we had an uptick and got it up to about 155,000 rounds. Had a good weather that year. 2011, we're projecting about 150,000 rounds. A lot of that is really the result of bad weather that we've had this year, and we feel like people are still feeling the effects of the economy. The fact that it continues to linger as it has, then people are starting to pull back a little bit. 2012, we're actually budgeting 155,000 rounds. So we expect and are praying for better weather. As well, we plan to do some more marketing to really increase our rounds, both member rounds as well as outside rounds, golf packages and things of that nature. Here are the numbers for the golf fund. Again, projecting 150,000 rounds this year, going to 155,000 rounds in 2012. So we're going from about 5.5 million in revenues this year to about 5.8 million next year. Our expenses going from about 5 million to about 5.5 million. And again, I'll show you some details on the increases in the next slides. So our net golf cash flow in 2011 projecting about 530,000, going down to about 325,000. And that's really primarily due to one component that I'll show you on the next page. So our golf fund, we try and keep it zero. In essence, everything that we take in for the golf fund, we're spending to put back into the golf operations as capital. Whether it be golf carts, golf course maintenance equipment, golf course improvements, etc. So at the end of the day, it ends up being zero. We anticipate spending about 1.5 million next year in 2012. We'll have principal payments on the Stonehenge note of about 85,000. And in order to cover that, we're going to have to transfer about 1.2 million from the capital fund into the golf fund. Now, this really is no different than prior years. It's just in prior years, it's run through operations. So it was hard to see. So this is one of the primary reasons that we're really taking that golf fund and separating it out, no different than the sewer fund. So it's very transparent. You can really see what's going on in terms of the transfers of money between funds, and you can see the capital expenditures related to golf. So that's the primary purpose for the format of the presentation this way. Revenues anticipate increasing about 253,000. That's a combination of more volume, 5,000 more rounds, plus we'll have some fee increases of up to 180 per round. So you've got 9-hole rounds, 18-hole rounds, you have member rates, guest rates, etc. But I think the maximum increase for any of those rounds is $1.80 per round. And we'll have some detailed amenity fee schedules that you can see to see exactly what those increases are based on how you play golf and what have you. On the expenses, we anticipate our cost of merchandise to go up about 20,000. Number one, we're going to have more sales. Anytime you have more sales, typically you're going to have more cost of sales. Additionally, it's a very competitive market now. You notice we've got a big sale this weekend. And I think a lot of people are more and more with this economy, they're waiting for those sales to take advantage of purchasing items. So because of that, you find that your cost of sales have a tendency to go up. And that's what's happening with us. Again, 3% full-time merit increase, about 83,000. Materials, fuel, course improvements. Real key here is course improvements. See that number of $300,000. In the past, that number has been included in capital. Okay? A golf course is really a living organism. If you're not making changes to the golf course every year, if you're not making improvements, you're really going backwards. So we've put $300,000 in the operating budget to give Steve and his team the latitude to do the things like leveling tees, doing minor drainage work, doing sand trap work to improve the course conditions, improve the golf course and really the enjoyment for our golf guests. So that's the main reason why the expenses are going up so dramatically from year to year. We've not done any of that, or whatever we've done has been minimal this year. The other thing, we have not bought any maintenance equipment at all in this year. In fact, I believe that was the same in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. Do anticipate cost increases with chemicals and fertilizer. Another thing, again, going to the quality issue, is we plan on getting new range ball machines for each of the clubs. The ones we have are starting to rust, look bad, they're not functioning as well as they should. So we're going to go out and do some range ball leases to improve that. And we do have some aging equipment. So anytime you have aging equipment, you're going to have more repair and maintenance to that equipment. Let's look at some expenses benchmarking. Our average maintenance cost per hole is about $34,000. The average industry cost per hole is about $78,600. So our costs are about 57% less than industry average for CIRAs. Now, what is a CIRA? A CIRA is a Common Interest Realty Association. It's actually an accounting term. It's basically what we are. We're an association that owns all the amenities. And so anytime we have that situation, we're considered a CIRA. They're very big in Southwest Florida. So these numbers are comparing to a Glade financial trends report from 2011. They're an accounting firm. They audit over 250 clubs in Florida and in the Southeast, primarily in Florida. So they do an annual trends report, and so we've pulled these numbers from that report. Our goal is to start doing some benchmarking with clubs in this area. Sometimes it's hard to do. A lot of clubs, number one, we're very unique. In fact, we have 5 golf courses. You don't find that too often in many communities. Typically 1, 2, maybe 3, but it's rare to see 5. Now, clearly the 5 has some economies of scale, which is good. Average golf division payroll cost per hole, about $30,000. Now that is all payroll, I'm pretty sure. And the average industry cost per hole, and that's just for golf course maintenance, is about $43,000 per hole. So we're about 30% less than industry average. So when you look at that, we compare very favorably. Now obviously we always want to improve our operations, we always want to be more efficient. So we will continue to do that. I think Steve and his team do a great job. From what I've seen and the dollars that we have in the budget compared to my experience, we compare very well. We're very frugal with our dollars. Capital expenditures for golf fund. The big item is the Dorchester irrigation system. We're going to spend about $600,000 on phase 1 in 2012. Phase 2 will be completed in early 2013. So no different than the Stonehenge irrigation. We start in the fall, we finish in the winter time. So $600,000 in 2012, another $600,000 in 2013. We need to replace some of the aging equipment for our 5 golf courses. So we've budgeted $450,000. We're about $90,000 per golf course. Steve and his team have been very good about getting very good used equipment that's coming off a lease. The equipment maybe is only 3 years old, does not have a lot of hours, and in fact we just committed to buy some here recently that we'll be picking up in January, so we really stretch those dollars as far as possible. We need to resurface some of the cart paths at Stonehenge, both for safety reasons, and also we've got some issues with them just not wearing very well. You've got a lot of cracks and bumps and everything, so that also creates a safety issue. In particular, we're focusing on number 15 and going then up to number 16 in Stonehenge, actually replacing the asphalt with concrete. Heatherhurst golf carts, we need to replace one of the fleets at Heatherhurst. That's about $160,000 a year. And then Heatherhurst, we need some more green fans. The The greens, because of their location, many times in a hole, they don't get enough circulation of air, and that is not good for golf greens. So you're seeing more and more of this in this area. We're kind of in that transition zone. We've got cool weather grass for the most part, and when you get into the heat of the summer, if you don't have good airflow, your greens will die. And any golfer will tell you the greens are the most important part of the golf course, so they have to be healthy and look good. Restroom on the back nine of Stonehenge. Right now, our restroom on the back nine of Stonehenge consists of 2 portables. So we don't think that's a good quality appearance for Stonehenge, which is considered our premier golf course. So we believe it's time to get a restroom on the back nine of Stonehenge, and we budgeted $40,000. That's actually an excellent price. We used to budget $75,000 to $80,000 in Florida on a flat piece of land that was raw. There was nothing going on there. So to be able to get a restroom for $40,000 is really very good. They get into all any renovations to your house, you had to do kitchen work or bathrooms, you know plumbing costs are pretty high. So we feel like Steve's really got a good price on that. Let's move to the operations fund. The operations fund is really that fund that really handles your basic community association services. We're going to talk about membership lots and delinquencies, talk about the budget for 2012 as we've done with the other funds. We'll talk about the monthly assessment increase and then the split on the assessment. First of all, our lot census. Tier A are your lots with sewer and septic, and you can see we've got about 8,500 of those lots. Now about 4,600 of them actually have homes on them, okay? And we've got about 367 that actually are not paying their dues. Now, good news, that's only about 5% delinquency rate. And in this economy, that's actually pretty good based on my experience and what I've seen in other communities. Tier B is your semi-developed lots. They either have a road or they have sewer. They don't have both. About 2,200 of those. You can see non-paying 379. So clearly over 10%. Tier C are the completely undeveloped lots. No road, no sewer. You've got about 4,800 of those that are owned by individuals, another 1,900 owned by investors. And you can see, again, a high number of non-paying, in particular on the investor lots. Clearly, these are people that have less of an investment in Fairfield Glade, so they're less likely to pay their assessments when due. We continue to try and encourage them to do so. We've got a voluntary take-back program of the lots, and we've already taken back over 300 lots. We believe that's actually good because now we're in control of those lots and we can determine the best way to use them. And then we've got 549 non-billable lots. Those are really lots that we own, those 300 plus that we've taken back, as well as the county owns some lots that they've taken back as a result of people not paying the real estate taxes. So that's about 549 that we can't bill. So in total, we've got about 18,000 lots. However, you go down to the bottom line there, and we only bill about 15,600 lots. Or that is, those are the number of lots that are actually paying. We bill everybody except for ourselves and the county, but only about 15,006 are actually paying their assessments. So that's something that we will continue to work on, continue to improve on, to try and get more people paying their assessments. Operations fund, financials, 2011 projected $9.3 million. That will go up to about $9.6 million in 2012. Expenses going from about $8.8 million up to about $9.3 million. So that's going up about $500,000. So our net operations fund cash flow in 2011 is about $500,000. That's going to go down to about $365,000 next year. Now, the primary reason for that really is we're going to push more money over to the capital fund, and I'll show you that in a minute. Our beginning operations fund, At the end of this year, we'll end up at about $2.2 million. So that's at the beginning of 2012. We anticipate having about $2.2 million in the operations fund. We're going to transfer about $1.1 million to the capital fund, okay, to build it up a little bit more. And what we're trying to do there is really, in the past, we've had capital expenditures coming out of the operations fund. Very hard to understand, very hard to see those dollars being spent. We're now going to have all the capital expenditures flow through the capital fund. So again, it's very transparent. You can see all the fixed assets that are being purchased via the capital fund, the golf fund, and the sewer fund. So no longer will we buy capital equipment, fixed assets through the operations fund. So again, it'll be much more transparent and easier to understand. So at the end of the year, we anticipate having about $1.5 million in the operations fund. And we believe that is sufficient working capital to take care of our operations needs. These are some of the reasons for the revenue increases. We'll have about $300,000 due to assessment increases. We're going to increase the rate for the pool fee for the timeshare from $3 a week to $5 a week. So that will generate about $39,000 more in income. And we anticipate having an increase, in that area each year for the next couple of years. We anticipate improved program participation in the recreational area, so about $29,000. Food and beverage, we plan on having better programs, better quality to generate more revenue, about $35,000. The ACC area, we actually are budgeting less fines in 2012. Now, logically, that seems to be strange, recognizing that we're actually implementing a fine system that we really haven't had in the past. But I think we're taking the approach that if people really know what the fines are, then they're going to be encouraged to comply with our rules and regulations more regularly. So as a result of that, we're actually planning on decreasing the fines for next year. So time will tell how that works out. And then sales tax refunds and insurance claims for this year, 2011, will not be reoccurring in 2012. That's about $40,000. The expenses, some increases and decreases on the operations fund, cost of sales. This is primarily our food and beverage operation. We plan to reduce those costs of sales with better controls. So that's about $22,000. Labor, benefits, and taxes, that's the large one, about $311,000. Again, the 3% full-time merit increase. Additionally, we plan on hiring a facilities manager to take care of a lot of our facilities. Right now, we don't have that position in place, and we believe we need that to really improve our facilities. Additionally, the food and beverage director, right now, we just have too much on Tommy Lee's plate. We really need a food and beverage director. It's a $2 million operation. And in my experience, anytime you have a $2 million operation in food and beverage, you need a food and beverage director. That person would be very critical in the internal control area and making sure that we can reduce our cost of sales as well as improve our quality, in particular in the service area. And that we anticipate will generate additional revenue. Grounds maintenance personnel. We plan to do some upgrades of our landscaping. We've already done the main sign on Peavine Road. We need to keep those looking good. So we anticipate hiring some grounds maintenance personnel, which evidently you all have in the past, but the position was eliminated. So that's the game plan for next year. And then savings side, right now we have we have a 401k plan for our employees. And there are two components of that. Number one, they get about 6% of the amount their payroll. So if they're contributing to 401k, then about 6% of their pay is also being matched by the company. In addition, in the past, there's been an additional 3% end-of-year bonus as well that was going in. So in total, it could be about 9%. This is the last year we're doing that, 2011. So effective in 2012, there will no longer be that 3% year-end bonus for the 401k, and that will save about $117,000. So It's really all we're doing is we're trying to really take a look at the total package and make sure that we are paying a fair wage and being competitive with market conditions. Materials, repairs and maintenance, fuel. Again, we're going to have an improved focus on maintenance and facilities and grounds, about $17,000. And we anticipate restocking some of the lakes with fish to the tune of about $25,000. Other expenses, we budgeted $100,000 to do some silt removal of some of our lakes. This will not be all lakes, but some of the lakes that have not been done recently. We've got some projects in 2011, Lake Sherwood, for example, that won't be reoccurring in 2012. So we actually have $32,000 savings there. We anticipate, again, utility increases about $11,000. All of our IT equipment leases matured in 2011, so we will not have those in 2012. It's about $19,000 savings. And then we're going to increase the road maintenance to the tune of about $95,000 so that we can pave more roads, chip and seal more roads in 2012 versus 2011. From a marketing standpoint, we plan to expand those marketing efforts to attract more guests and future property owners. That's really the key, is bringing in more property owners. So we're increasing the budget to an additional $23,000 in total, about $100,000 for marketing. And taxes and licenses, we've got those lots deeded back to the club that we have to pay real estate taxes on. Then we've also had some increase in tangible property values, and that's about $15,000. So this is why you really came. What is your monthly assessment going to be? All the other stuff really doesn't matter, does it? Okay, for your Tier A, your homes or lots with sewer, homes with septic, right now, $39.50. I'm going to focus on the homes with sewer. $39.50, there'll be a $5 per month increase, take you to $44.50 per month. Homes with septic, also a $5 increase, so you're going from $38.50 to $43.50 per month. The B tier lots, we calculate those as 85% of the homes with septic. So that's why you have that asterisk there, and then here and here. So B tier, 85% of the $43.50. C tier lots, 65% of the of the $43.50. So they'll pay $37 and $28.30 respectively. Now, what do you get for those assessments? First of all, you get a public safety department. Secondly, fire department. So you have police protection, you have fire protection for that $44.50 a month. Infrastructure, all the roads and bridges, etc., the lakes, and really are part of the infrastructure. We maintain all those. Landscaping and signs. Landscaping all the common areas, street signs, the wayfinding signs, directional signs, etc. Those are all taken care of with those assessments. Access to a variety of amenities, but you've got to maintain those amenities. You have to make sure they're quality amenities, so that costs money. And then your capital expenditures from the capital fund are also included in that assessment. So that total $44.50, on a monthly basis covers all these items. So going back to the mission statement, reasonable fees, we believe $44.50 a month to get all these services is very reasonable. Now the assessment split, currently in 2011, 80% has gone to operations, 20% has gone to capital. Now, a lot of that is because we've been buying capital equipment through the operations fund. So now with this change, where all the equipment is being bought through the capital fund, we're changing it to 75% operations, 25% capital. And that's the maximum that we can do for our declaration. We'll talk about the capital fund budget, capital expenditures, and then we'll get into notes payable, which really is all part of the capital fund. So So next year, you see the revenues are going up dramatically from 1.4 million to about 1.9 million, a little bit more. And that's really because we're going from 20% to 25% going into the capital fund to take care of all of these capital expenditures. Expenses, really it's just the interest on the debt. And you see a minor increase there to $426,000. So the net capital fund cash flow for the year goes from $968,000 in 2011 to over $1.5 million in 2012. Again, that's really just because going from 20% to 25% allocated to capital fund. Beginning capital fund, beginning in 2012, we anticipated to be about 2.5 million. We're going to have capital costs about 1.5 million that I'll show you in a minute. Principal payments on the notes comes out of capital fund. That's about 285,000. And then transfers to capital fund. Remember that 1.1 million? That's coming from the operations fund to build up the capital fund for those capital expenditures. And then the transfers from the capital fund, that 1.2, that's going to the golf fund to pay for some golf capital expenditures. So again, trying to be very transparent, very easy to understand, very easy to follow. Just again, so okay. So at the end of the year, we'll have over $2 million in the capital fund. So still very healthy capital fund. So again, remember our mission. We want to, first of all, manage the budget to the mission. So our community club's mission is to provide a quality resort and retirement community maintaining reasonable member assessment fees. Remember some of those comments we got from visitors and consultants. A lot of deferred maintenance, dated entire facilities. There's some financial issues given conditions of buildings. So comments like this, again, are driving how we're going to spend our capital money. First thing is the Dartmoor floating docks. Those are a real safety issue. And so we're budgeting $300,000 to do as many of those as possible. We're hopeful we can do 100% of them. But we're still working on getting the final bids in on that. We're going to spend about $317 on various facilities items for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, painting, new flooring, new carpeting, parking lots that need repair and striping, landscaping, and also some additional furnishings, all to update them and provide a better quality appearance. We've got a number of vehicles that we need to replace that, again, 15 to 18 years old, and our annual equipment replacement. We're going to spend about $145,000 on a new sanitation truck. A picture of that to show you all. Administration, modular unit, we're going to have about $130,000 for that. And then the Druid Hills pool, which we plan to give it a facelift, the cabana, the fencing, relining the pool, landscaping, and also add a covered pavilion as well. And then we plan to spend about $100,000 on some master planning for the facilities using architects and engineers to really help us with some long-term plans for these facilities so we can then come up with a good 10-year plan to figure out how we're going to fund the various improvements that are necessary. Some additional items, tennis. We've got a real mold and mildew issue over at the indoor tennis courts. We're having to spend $10,000 to $15,000 a year to clean them. That's the roof structure and everything. So we believe that it's time to put in air conditioning systems. That's something that we're evaluating right now. It's been looked at in the past. And so we're resurrecting that and take a fresh look at that. So we've budgeted some money for that. Chairs and tables. If you've been over to Stonehenge, we've got a hodgepodge of tables and chairs over there. It's not uniform at all. So we plan to get all new tables and chairs over at Stonehenge, recarpet the entire clubhouse. That was in that previous number. So So that's about $35,000. We'll potentially have some new chairs over at Fireside Lounge as well, so that's something we have to look at. Walking trails. There are a couple walking trails that we need to complete, in particular on Kingsborough and Village Drive. There's some segments that are not complete, so we budgeted $40,000 to complete that. Druid Pool needs some new furniture. And likewise, our playground equipment is dated. Some is unsafe. So again, we plan on spending $25,000 to take care of the safety issue. And then we're upgrading our Microsoft Office to Office 2010. Right now, we're on 2003. So I think it's time, recognizing it's already 2012, to upgrade to 2010. Dartmoor Docks. It may be kind of hard to see, but Sam McAdoo right here is standing, and that whole dock is tilting towards that pontoon boat. So that's a very unsafe condition. If you walk on that, it's very unstable. These are the new docks that were put in place, I guess, within the last few years. Very stable. Game plan is to actually move these to the small docks that are right by the concrete pier in the marine area, and then put in new docks at that location right there. Heatherhurst needs painting. If any of y'all have been there, this is where a comment from the consultant about deferred maintenance, this is where that came from. I took them up there, and you see the railing is looks rusted, not painted. Same thing. You can see over here, the wall is not painted. So we're going to repaint the entire exterior of Heatherhurst. Okay, walking trails. Right now, on Kingsborough, you've got the timeshare property of Wellington Place. And that's about right here on Kingsborough. You've got walking trails from Stonehenge to Wellington. Wellington to Catoosa. On Kingsborough, there's no walking trail. And you see people walking there early in the morning, really throughout the day. So it's a very heavily traveled walking area. Additionally, right here between Stonehenge and, on Village Drive, this is the walking trail that goes behind the Community Conference Center, and it goes to the Village Green Mall. There's a little section right there that is also not done. So we plan to complete